A very good afternoon, Eswatini, and welcome to your favorite teleeducation program, Home Study. My name is Lerato Mabilisa, and as always, I am never alone. I am with my co-host, Nogwazi Dlamini. Also joining me in the studio are our sign language interpreters, Nompumelelo Hatebe and Nomcebo Dlamini. A very good afternoon, Gwazi.
A very good afternoon to you, Lerato, and a very good afternoon to our viewers on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon. I hope everybody is ready for some learning today. Lerato, how are you doing today?
I'm great.
So what does the day look like today for our learners?
Well, from 2 p.m. until 2:30 p.m., the grade 1s and 2s have mathematics. And then from 2:30 p.m. until 3 p.m., the grade 3s and 4s have Siswati. From 3 p.m. until 3:30 p.m., the grade 5s and 6s have English language. From 3:30 p.m. until 4 p.m., the Form 1 and 2s have mathematics. And then from 4 p.m. until 4:30 p.m., the Form 4s have biology. And then from 4:30 p.m. until 5 p.m., the Form 4s have physics.
Looks like a very busy day for our learners as always. And just a reminder, everyone back at home, that we are live right now on YouTube and on Facebook. And if you have any questions, we do have the WhatsApp number and you can ask questions on that platform. Without wasting any time, after this break, Lerato will be right back with you with mathematics for the grade 1s and the grade 2s. We'll be right back after this.
The change in technology, out-of-home digital media is designed to grab the attention of people who are always on the go. You can now watch your favorite show, Usile Breakfast Show and Tinzaba at 7 on your favorite YouTube channel.
It's simple. You can stream these shows by following these quick, easy steps. Number 1, open YouTube. Number 2, search for Eswatini TV and click on Eswatini TV. Number 3, after you had entered on Eswatini TV, look for Tinzaba or KPS. And while you're at it, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell button to get notifications of our video uploads and streams. And lastly, enjoy the stream. Stay home and watch Eswatini TV. Stay safe.
Why should we pay our TV license?
The content on our local television is actually more up to date. The industry is enhanced.
It is a criminal offense not to pay your TV license and attracts a fine of 500 emalangeni or 6 months imprisonment.
And the industry is definitely blooming, ladies and gentlemen. So that's what we have for you. But we'll be right back just after the break and we'll give you more of Miss V.
Pay my TV license. That's why I can enjoy the benefits of an enhanced industry and keep track with recent transformation.
Mommy, who paid for a TV license and what are they paying for?
The owners of TV set and a gadget with a tuner like DVD set have to pay.
Pay your TV license at NetBank with the details provided on screen. Or use your cell phone via the mobile money pay. You could also visit your nearest post office and pay there. Pay your TV license via Eswatini Mobile Imali. Any TV device retailer can purchase a license to trade. Pay your TV license and enhance the industry.
Buhle bethu imvelo yethu. Buhle bethu tindzawo tethu. Indalo yashada nemasiko kuhle kwethu. Kuvakasha kwethula umthwalo emahlombe ethu. Hloma ngwane vuka uvakashe indlela uyikhombe etindzaweni tethu. Temvelo nembukiso ungcebeleke uthathe netithombe. lalela ke nangu sonkondlo waseswatini akutekela ayibeka indzaba ayihlela kuhle kwelijaha lishela ngiyakutshela diningi tindzawo longativakashela hloma ngwane vuka uvakashela phana lapha kuvakasha kuyayelapha enhlitiyo kanye nemqondo kuyawuphumuta uqinisa buhlobo nebungane losebundenga ndenga with a trip to Mantenga Falls or a sip among friends of Sibebe Brew on Sibebe Mountain, or perhaps your cup of tea is backpacking and horse riding, sightseeing the seamless streams and springs that stream across the gorgeous valleys of the mountainous kingdoms of Eswatini. We have you covered. Hloma ngwane vuka uvakashe buhle bethu yimvelo yethu buhle bethu ngabuthola nasebantwini bethu.
Welcome back, grade ones. This is the first subject for today, and you are learning mathematics with teacher Nonjabulo Mzileni. And your topic for today is counting up to 20. My name is Lirato Mabilisa, and also joining me in the studio is the sign language interpreter Nomcebo Dlamini. A very good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Lerato.
How are you today?
I'm good, and yourself?
I'm all right. So today's topic is counting up to 20.
Yes, Lerato.
Okay. What would you expect the viewer to have learned by the end of the lesson?
By the end of the lesson, I expect the learner at home to be able to recite numbers from 1 up to 20. They will also recite numbers starting from a given number and ending at a given number. They will say numbers that comes between and after a given number and recognize the number 0. They will also count the number of objects in given sets.
Okay, without wasting any time, you may begin your lesson.
Thank you, Lelato. A very good day, dear learner at home. I'm teacher Nonjabulo Mzileni, and today we'll be learning how to count numbers up to 20 for the grade ones. Okay. By the end of the lesson, I expect the learner at home to be able to recite the sequence 1, 2, 3, up to 20 in English and Siswati. They will also recite numbers starting from a given number and stopping at another. The learner will also say number, name that goes after, before a given number. They will also count number of objects in sets. The learners will also count forward and backward from 1 up to 20. Then recognize the number 0 as the number associated with none when counting back. Okay, dear learner at home, the keywords for today are all numbers up to 20 in English and Siswati. The learner is as we are learning, we will come across numbers, we will come across words like before, after, counting, objects, then say how many objects are there. The learners are going to count forward and backwards. Okay, the learner at home already know how to count numbers from 1 up to 10. Okay, dear learner at home, now I want us to say a rhyme together. A rhyme of numbers 1 up to 10. We are going to start by saying the rhyme up to 5. Let us start singing. How many fingers on one hand? How many fingers on one hand? How many fingers on one hand? Let's all count together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many fingers on 2 hands? How many fingers on 2 hands? How many fingers on 2 hands? Let's all count together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Clap, clap, clap your hands. Clap, clap, clap your hands. Clap, clap, clap your hands. Clap your hands with me. Thank you very much, dear learner at home. As I said earlier, today we are going to learn how to count numbers from 1 up to 20. We are going to start counting numbers 1 to 20 in English. Let us look at these beautiful numbers here. I hope you can all see them. Now I want us to start counting from number 1 together. 1,
1,
2,
2,
3,
3,
4,
4,
5,
5,
6,
6,
7,
7,
8,
8,
9,
9,
10,
10,
11,
11,
12,
12,
13,
13,
14,
14,
15,
15,
16,
16,
17,
17,
18,
18,
19,
19,
20.
20.
Very good, dear learner at home. Now, I want us to count the numbers in Siswati now. Starting from number 1 up to number 20. Let's start counting again. Gunye,
Gunye,
gubili,
gubili,
guthathu,
guthathu,
gune,
gune,
gusihlanu,
gusihlanu,
gusithupha,
gusithupha,
gusikhombisa,
gusikhombisa,
gusiphohlongo,
gusiphohlongo,
guyimfica,
guyimfica,
gulishumi,
gulishumi,
gulishumi nakunye,
gulishumi nakunye,
gulishumi nakubili,
gulishumi nakubili,
gulishumi nakuthathu,
gulishumi nakuthathu,
gulishumi nane,
gulishumi nane,
gulishumi nesihlanu,
gulishumi nesihlanu,
gulishumi nesithupha,
gulishumi nesithupha,
gulishumi nesikhombisa,
gulishumi nesikhombisa,
gulishumi nesiphohlongo,
gulishumi nesiphohlongo,
gulishumi nemfica,
gulishumi nemfica,
kumashumi lamabili.
kumashumi lamabili.
I hope, dear learner at home, you have seen how to count the numbers from 1 up to 20 in Siswati. And thank you to Lerato for helping us while we were counting. Now, dear learner at home, let us look at these numbers again. We have numbers 1 up to 20. Like we said earlier, we are going to count from 6 to 20. I will give you a number, which is number 6, and we are going to end to number 15. Let us look at the numbers here. Where is number 6? Here is number 6. Very good. And where is number 15? There is number 15. Very good, grade 1. Now, I want us to count from number 6 to number 15 together again. 6,
6,
7,
7,
8,
8,
9,
9,
10,
10,
11,
11,
12,
12,
13,
13,
14,
14,
15.
15.
Very good, dear learner at home. We said we will start counting from number 6 to number 15. Okay, now let us look at the numbers again. Now we are going to say the number that comes before and after number 3. What do you think before means? and after. Before means that the number is the number that comes is the smaller number. The number that comes before the given number is the smaller number, and the number that comes after a given number is the bigger number. Now, dear learner at home, let us look at number 3. Here is our number 3. Which number comes before number 3? Is it 4?
No.
It's number 2, because we say the number that comes before is the smaller number. Very good. And now let us look at the number that comes after number 3. Which number is that, dear learner at home? It's 4. Very good. Now let us look at this number again, the last number, number 19. I hope you can all see number 19. Which number comes before number 19? We say the number that comes before number 19 is the smallest number. And the number that comes after 20 will be the biggest number. Now let us look for the smaller number here. Very good. 18 is the smaller number. And which one is the biggest? 20. This means that number 20 comes after number 19. And number 18 comes before number 20. Very good, dear learner at home. Now, dear learner at home, we are going to start counting. We are going to count the number of objects in given sets. I'll show you, they are going to be set here, which we are going to count. Inside the sets there will be objects, and when counting the number of objects, remember, dear learner at home, you have to tick the object so that you don't repeat the object while we are counting. Let us look at this example. I have a set with me, a set of stars. Now let us count the number of objects inside this set. I said when you count, make sure you tick so that you don't repeat the object. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How many objects are in this set? There are 6 objects. Very good, dear learner at home. I have another example with me. This is a set of triangles. Now, I want us to count the number of objects that are inside the triangle. I told you that when we are counting, make sure you tick the number of objects. Let us tick. Let us count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. How many objects do we have here? There are 10 objects. Very good, dear learner at home. Let us look at the last object here. I have these objects with me. Now, we said we are going to count up to 20. We said we are going to count up to 20. And so that you don't repeat the number of objects inside, make sure you tick it as you count. Let us count the number of objects that are here in the set now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
20.
How many objects are here? There are 20 objects. Thank you, Lerato, for helping us as we were counting. Now we are going to learn how number 0 is written. Let us look at this. Here, let's draw a set with 3 triangles. Then we will remove 1 triangle at a time and count how many until there is nothing left inside. Let us draw the triangle, dear Elena. The set, dear Elena. And the 3 triangles inside. 1, 2, 3. How many triangles are here? There are 3 triangles. Now, let us remove 1 triangle. How many triangles are we left with? We are left with only 2. Let us remove another triangle. How many triangles are we now left with? We are left with only 1 triangle. And now, how many triangles are we left with? There is nothing inside the set. Can you all see, dear Elena? There is nothing inside the set. When the set is empty, this is a number 0. This shows us that this is a number 0. An empty set represents the number 0. An empty set represents the number 0. Okay, dear Elena at home. Let us now count starting from 0 up to 20, forward and backwards. 0 up to 20, forward and backwards. Like we said earlier, we have the number 0. Number 0 is always followed by number 1. And when counting objects, you don't start counting 0. You start counting at 1 when you are counting the number of objects. But now here we are going to count from 0 to 20, forward and backwards. Let us count together, dear Elena. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Very good, dear Elena at home. Now we are going to count backwards from 20 to 0. 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, dear Elena at home, because of time, you are going to count at home from 18 backwards to 5. Now, dear Elena at home, I want us to sing this song together. From 1 up to 20. We are going to say numbers 1 to up to 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Clap. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. You clap, 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 stop. Jump, 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 stop. Clap, 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 stop. And jump, 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 stop. Okay, dear Elena at home. Thank you very much. Now, dear learner at home, we learned how to recite the numbers up to 20 in English and Siswati. We also counted the number of objects in sets. We learned about the number 0, which means there is nothing in the set. We also counted forward and backwards. Thank you, dear Lena at home.
Thank you very much, ma'am. That was a very interesting grade 1 mathematics lesson. We're hoping that you're going to come again next time.
I hope so, Lerato.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome. So the next class is grade 4s and 5s. So I hope that you are ready because I will be back after this infomercial.
I came from the great Gama clan, was carried by a gorgeous light-skinned maiden, with a smile so bright as she was perfect. I came from the greatness within and without. With thighs so thick, I took after my mom. Look at me, fine, thick and firm. I am the greatest of this generation. They'll be calling me the girl who made poetry look cool, yo, cool. We can do it together. I am your servant of peace, your queen of honesty, authentic in my own right. I am the calm in the storm, the flavor in your coffee. I let you ride in and out my words. I love words. I love in words. I am the truth in your doubt. Look at me, short, thick, light, and well built. If I were to lose some belly fat, but focus on the positive, because you know she's a fine little shutty. Are you getting it? I am your muse, day and night. I am the fire in fierce, the flame in amazing, the heat in fire, the log burning sometimes, cause this love, I am Moket. I am the dream of 1,000 queens, the girl you tell your daughter to be like, the woman you tell your son to bring home, the maker of the home, the stun of his charm. Oh, I'm sorry, I got carried away. Oh, but thank you for giving birth to him. I am the dream of 1,000 queens. My name is Moket.
Ngikuvusele mbukeli ekhaya, libito lami ngingilirato wakamabilisa, kanti ke angihambi ngedwa, ngihamba naye thishela wesiswati Phephile Mavuso, lotabe afundzisa libanga lesithathu nelesine. Ngikuvusele thishela.
Yebo sisilirato unjani?
Ngiphilile, unjani wena?
Ngiyaphila sis.
Sihloko sanamuhla sithi emagama lakhomba ubuhlobo.
Yebo lirato.
Yini bumcoka balesifundo?
Bumcoka balesifundo sanamuhla ukuthi sitamsita umfundzi ukuthi akhona ukusebenzisa kahle emagama lakhomba ubuhlobo emalungeni emndeni ngamunye ngamunye.
Ngaphandle kokucitha isikhathi ngicela ukuthi usiqale isifundo sakho.
Ngiyabonga sis. Angubingelele mfundzi ekhaya, lokubingelelako nguthishela wakho wesiswati Phephile Mavuso, lotabe etfula sifundo setfu selibanga lesine pheceleti grade 4. Lapho sitabe sibuka khona emagama lakhomba buhlobo. Useta ubukela mfundzi sifundo sakho, ngicela usonzelena naku lokulandzelako. Libhuku lakho lekubhalela, ipen yakho yekubhala kanye nencwadzi yakho asikhudulisane ilibanga lesine. Singakachithi isikhathi mfundzi asingene esifundweni sethu ngekuthi siqale sibuke ukuthi na kuphela lesifundo kubhekeke ukuthi ube ukhona kwenda ini. Ekupheleni kwalesifundo mfundzi kubhekekile ukuthi ukhone kusho tinhlobo temndeni letikhona. Ubhekekile ukuthi ukhone kusebentisa kahle emagama lakhomba buhlobo lobukhona emalungeni emndeni. Kanti futhi ubhekekile ukuthi ukhone kusho bumcoka bemndeni. Asicale ke sifundo sethu mfundzi ngekuthi sitikhumbude ukuthi ebangeni lesithathu nasifundza ngetinhlobo temndeni. Utawukhumbula phela mfundzi ukuthi sathi ukhona luhlobo lwemndeni lapho kunababe namake kanye nemntfwana nobe nebantfwana. Wesibili ke mfundzi ukhona umndeni lapho kunababe nobe make kanye nemntfwana nobe nebantfwana. Futhi ke mfundzi safundza ngekuthi kukhona umndeni lapho kude babe futhi kude namake kepha kunebantfwana kuphela. Lapha ke mfundzi utawukhumbula phela kutsi sathi lona lomdzala umntfwana kunalaba labanye kuyaye bese kuba nguye lonakekela bantfwana bakubo labancane. Dinengi ke tinfo letingenta mfundzi kutsi kube khona loluhlobo lolu lwemndeni kepha namuhla angeke sikhulume ngalo. Kuphindze ke mfundzi kube khona umndeni lapho kunakhokho, kunagogo, kunamkhulu, kunababe, kunamake, babekati, lona lesimati ngekuthi ngu-andi. Kube nabomzala kanye nebantfwana. Asesibuke ke mfundzi nati titfombe tami letingumfanekiso wale mindeni lesesikhulume ngayo. Nasi sitfombe sami mfundzi ase ungibalele emalunga emndeni lo wabonako kule sitfombe. Yebo phela mfundzi ukhona babe, ukhona futhi namake bese kuba nebantfwana. Asibuke luhlobo lolulandzelako mfundzi lwemndeni. Siyabona kule sitfombe lesi mfundzi kuthi kunamake njengoba sishito ukuthi ukhona umndeni longaba nababe nobe ube namake. Lana loluhlobo lolu lwemndeni lunamake kanye nemntfwana. Asibuke lesilandzelako mfundzi sitfombe sethu. Ukhona yini make kule sitfombe? Babe ke yena ngabe ukhona yini? Yebo mfundzi usho kahle. Kude babe futhi kude namake. Kulolu hlobo lolu lwemndeni sithite kuba nebantfwana kuphela. Saphindze sathi lona lomdzala umntfwana kuba nguye lowenta njani lonakekela laba ncane bantfwana njengoba sibona kule sitfombe. Asibuka sitfombe sethu sekugcina ke mfundzi semndeni lesikhulume ngawo. Umndeni lapho khona kunakhokho, kunagogo, kunamkhulu, kunababe, kunamake, kunababekati. Lelesa sishito phela mfundzi kutsi ngilona lesimbita ngekuthi thine ngu-andi. Kunabomzala kanye nebantfwana. Engabe wena mfundzi uphuma kuluphi luhlobo lwemndeni kule mindeni lesesikhulume ngayo. Asichubeke ke mfundzi sibuke ukuthi ngabe le mindeni lesikhuluma ngayo umcoka ngani umndeni. Kumcoka ke mfundzi kuthi sikhumbule ukuthi sonke sibuya emndenini thide. Nobe ngabe uphuma kuluphi luhlobo lwemndeni. Asihlale sikhumbula ke mfundzi kuthi umndeni usisekelo sawo wonke umuntu. Umndeni uyini? Usisekelo sani sawo wonke umuntu. Ngaphandle kwemndeni impilo yemuntu ayidindi kahle. Kusho ukuthini ke lokho? Kusho ukuthi loyo muntu akabi nenhlala kahle. Kuhle ke mfundzi ukuthi sihlale njalo siphathana kahle singumndeni. Ase sibuke ke mfundzi emagama ethu lesitawukhuluma ngawo namuhla. Emagama lakhomba ini? Lakhomba buhlobo lobukhona emalungeni emndeni. Ligama lethu lekuqala mzala. Mzala ngumntwana wamalume. Futhi ke mzala phela mfundzi kungaba ngumntwana wabani? Wababekati. Sesikhulumile ngababekati ke mfundzi ukuthi ngilona lesithi thine ngubani? Ngu-andi. Umnaketfu ngumntwana wakini longumfana. Umntwana wakini longumfana. Bese kuba nadzadzewetfu. Dzadzewetfu yena ngumntwana wakithi loyinfombatana. Malume nguwesilisa wakhabo make wakho. Babekati ngudzadze loku lesikwati ngekuthi thine ngusisi wababe wakho. Make lomncane ngudzadze wasisi mfundzi ngudzadze wamake wakho. Ngiyaxolisa mfundzi. Asichubeke sibuke emagama ethu. Gogo ngumake wababe nobe wabani? Wamake wakho. Mkhulu ngubabe wamake nobe wababe wakho. Bese kuba nakhokho. Khokho ke mfundzi ngumkhulu nobe ngugogo lotala gogo wakho. Ngiwo emagama ethu lebesikhuluma ngawo namuhla mfundzi. Akhona lamanye lesingakawafaki kepha namuhla sitawubuka lawa kuphela. Ngiyethemba ukuthi umfundzi abesolo ahamba nami sitawubona nyalo senta ngumsebenzi lesitawenda kanye kubona phela mfundzi ukuthi besihamba kanye yini. Kuna nali mfundzi litafula lelikhona la embi kwethu. Ngesencele sale litafula kunebuhlobo. Lokusho ukuthi kunemagama lakhomba ini? Lakhomba buhlobo. Bese ngesekudla kunemusho lone ngichazelo yani yaleli gama lelikhomba buhlobo. Lithini ke mfundzi ligama lekuqala? Lithi mzala. Yebo mfundzi. Singabuka leli gama lelikhomba buhlobo bese sibuya ngala ngesekudla sibuka umusho lone ngichazelo sesiyaqonzanisa ligama kanye nemusho lone ngichazelo. Mzala uyakhumbula phela mfundzi ukuthi sithite ngumntwana wa anti nobe ngumntwana wamalume. Ngakho ke mfundzi siyaconzanisa ligama lelithi mzala siliconzanisa nemusho wekugcina kuleli tafula lethu lothi kamanzini kuhlala umntwana wa anti wami. Ligama lesibili mfundzi lithi malume. Lithi malume. Siyakhumbula ke mfundzi ukuthi inchazelo yamalume siyibukile ngale ngenhla. Asesibuka ke mfundzi umusho lonenchazelo yaleli gama lelithi malume. Usho kahle mfundzi, ngilele lesibili nawuqhamuka ekugcineni. Lolothi umusho lamuhla sibone umntfwana wesilisa wakhabo make. Umntfwana wesilisa wakhabo make. Ngubani loyo? Ngumalume. Ligama lesithathu khokho. Khokho ngiyathanza kuvakashela umtali wagogo. Angithi sisho njalo phela mfundzi sathi khokho ngumake noma ngumkhulu wabani wagogo wakho. Make lomncane. Make lomncane ngusisi wamake wakho. Ngiyethemba ke mfundzi kuthi sewudibonile tinhlobo temndeni lekhona futhi sewufundzile nangebumcoka bemndeni. Ngaloku njalo mfundzi sewuwabonile emagama lasetshenziswako kukhomba buhlobo emalungeni emndeni. Nekuthi ke imindeni yehlukene ayifanani ke mfundzi imindeni. Kepha yonke ingiyo imindeni noma ingafanani nje. Asichubeke ke mfundzi, ngeke kulunga ukuthi ngingahamba la ngingakakuniki umsebenzi wakho lotawubhala kuphi ekhaya. Vula ke mfundzi incwadzi yakho asikhudulisane phela likhasi le-20 pheceleti page 20 ucedzele lemisho ngemagama lakhomba lakhomba buhlobo. Ngathi ngiyeva nje umfundzi uthi incwadzi yakhe yasala kuphi esikolweni. Khululeka mfundzi, nayi imisho sengivele ngikubhalele. Utawusebenzisa nanga emagama labhalwe ngalokubovu kucedzela lemisho lengendasi. Asesiwafunze mfundzi. Khokho. Khokho. Batukulu. Batukulu. Mzala. Mzala. Ngemshana. Ngemshana. Utawufunza ke mfundzi imisho lelapha ngendasi njengalo wekuqala nje uthi gogo wetfu, gogo wetfu usibita ngekuthi si. So ufuna ligama ke mfundzi kulawa labhalwe ngalabovu lelilungile ukuthi litawugqwalisa lesikhala lesishodako. Kanjalo ngale misho lengendasi. Umusho wesibili kunesikhala ekucaleni lokusho ukuthi uyafuna ligama lelikahle lelitawungena esikhaleni ekucaleni. Bese uyachubeka umusho uthi wami akasakhoni nekuphuma kuphi endlini ngenxa yekukhula. So uyafuna ke mfundzi ligama lelilungile ukuthi lingene esikhaleni. Umusho wesithathu nawo uqala ngesikhala. Bese uthi aphelele utalwa ngu-andi nomphumelelo. Ufuna ke ligama mfundzi lapha lelisho umuntu lotalwa ngu-andi wakho. Wekugcina ke umusho mfundzi uthi malume ungibita kunesikhala uyagcwalisa wena bese kuba neligama lekugcina wakhe. Ukubita ngeligama lelithini malume wakho. Ngiyethemba mfundzi usijabulele sifundo salamuhla losakuvalelisa nguthishela wakho wesiswati Phephile Mavuso.
Sibonge kakhulu thishela Phephile, besimnanzi kakhulu sifundo sakho sanamuhla.
Ngiyabonga sisilerato.
Okay. Mangabe ufunza libanga lesihlanu ngoma lesithupha unganyakadi uyabuya thishela wesingisi lotabe anifundzisa asesijike ngasemtimakethe sidawubuya khona manje.
Make use of you. Make use of you when they don't use you. You know, some people make strong decisions in their minds, telling themselves I am useless, only to find out that they don't use themselves. I do not want to believe that there is anyone who is not capable of anything, capability which is defined by anything good that you can do. Doing which is defined by taking an action. People of action. Tell them you can when they say you can, not until they digest it. Break it down into smaller particles, then swallow it. Maybe I should take this into another tone. I was given a gift by a man of gift which glittered in my eyes as an amazing gift. If you do not strongly appreciate your gift, you do not appreciate you. If you do not appreciate you, then who should? Should I take this to the highest cloud so that those who do not see their beauty do not forget that they were created in a rib of man? In fact, I am trying to bring the facts of life which won't change the fact that you are of creation. Let things begin with you. See, you are created in an image of a creator who was there in the beginning of all things, according to John. Do not look down upon yourself, because you'll make a huge mistake of moving away the image. Soft or hard moments, depending or undepending situations, be strong.
Welcome back, grade 5s and 6s. We are learning English language, which is the third subject for today, and your teacher is Mr. Themba Dlamini. My name is Lerato Mabilisa, and joining me in the studio is the sign language interpreter Nompumelelo Hatebe. A very good afternoon, Mr. Themba.
Afternoon, Lerato. How are you?
I'm alright. How are you?
I am fine. I'm very fine.
Even on a cold day.
Even on a cold day, I'm ready to teach.
Okay.
Yes.
Today's topic is reading comprehension.
Today's topic is reading comprehension, yes.
What would you expect your grade 5s and 6s to have learned by the end of the lesson?
I expect them to have learned a lot after this lesson, because we are going to be talking about a lot on how to read a passage, and also how to understand a passage, and also how to derive meaning of or after reading that passage. So we are going to learn a lot today.
Okay, without wasting any time, you may begin your lesson.
Thank you very much, Lerato. Let me take this opportunity, good people, to greet you at home, grade 5s and grade 6. Talking to you today is Mr. Themba Dlamini. I'm going to be teaching you reading comprehension. Here we are going to be talking about how exactly are you supposed to read. Say you've been given a story. How are you supposed to read the story so that you have a full understanding or a full meaning of that story? Now, but before we can begin, let us start by looking at the rationale, or why is it important for us to do a reading comprehension. So here we are saying the purpose of reading comprehension is comprehension. So why we read it is because we want to have comprehension, and also we want to get a full meaning of what we are reading. So this is to say, as you read, make sure you understand what you are reading. And then the major goal of reading comprehension is to help you develop the knowledge. This is very important. It is to help you develop the knowledge, to help you develop the skills, and also to have experience that you must have to become a competent and a skilled reader. So it is important that as you read, you must be competent. Also, you must be a skilled reader, so that you are going to understand well what you are reading. Now, let us look at the objectives of our lesson today. So here we are saying, at the end of this lesson, you should be able to read a passage with understanding. Remember, we are not just reading the passage for the sake of reading, but we need to read this passage with understanding. That is number one. Number two, you should be able to identify new words and find their meaning in context. This is to say, when you read a passage without understanding the new words, it is going to be difficult for you to comprehend or to understand what you are reading. Number 3, you should be able to give a summary of the passage to show that you have understood. So it means, therefore, if you can be able to give a summary after reading the whole passage, that is an indication that you have understood the passage you have been reading. So as we do this lesson, we are going to need the following material. We are going to need your textbook, that is grade 5 textbooks. We are going to need a pencil, a pen, and obviously we are going to need an exercise book. So these are the things we are going to be using as we learn this lesson. Remember, we said we are looking at how exactly can you go about reading up until you get full meaning. So as we are trying to do this reading comprehension today, of course, we are going to employ, or we are going to use a story here which is going to help us go about, or which is going to help us show you that this is how you are supposed to go about up until you find the correct meaning of the story. Now, in front of me here, there is the title of the story that we are going to be using. The title of the story is Setabile's story. Now, before we can read this story, let me ask you a question. Looking at this topic here, what do you think this story will be about? Now, some people are going to say this story is going to be about it's going to be about Setabile's life. It's going to be about Setabile's life. Some people are going to say it's going to be about Setabile's background. Some are going to say it's going to be about Setabile and her siblings So now, let us go and read this story to see if these predictions that we have just made are true and correct. We are going to read the story now. Hello, my name is Setabile Msibi. I am 10 years old. I live in Vuvulane with my sister Nogukanya, who is 8 years old. I also live with my brother, Madota, who is 5 years old. We have no parents. They died of AIDS when I was 8 years old. I was doing grade 3 then. We lived with an aunt for 2 years. Then she got married far away and had to leave us to look after ourselves. Now, let me ask you this question. How old is Setabile after we have just read the first paragraph? Now, looking at this paragraph here, we are going to see that Setabile is 10 years old. And then, again, let us look at who are the siblings of Setabile here. First, we are going to see that there is Nogukanya and also there is Madota. These two are both Setabile's siblings. Now, what do you make of this paragraph that we have just read so far? What comes into your mind? What can you say briefly about what we have just read? Now, it means, therefore, we are going to look briefly on what we have just read here. Here, we have read briefly about Setabile Msibi and her siblings. They have lost their parents due to AIDS as they are still young. The parents died when Setabile was doing grade 3, and they also lived with their aunt for 2 years, who later left them alone to go and live in a far away place. Now the question here is, do you think these siblings, these 3 children, are going to cope with life without parents? This is a painful thing. Anyway, let us continue reading to see if they are going to cope. It is not easy for me to look after 2 smaller children. Besides, I am just a child myself. I still need to be looked after by an adult. When Auntie Zodwa left, I could not cook properly. Good neighbors gave us food, but we could not cook it well. At night, my brother and sister will wake me up because of a stomach ache. Sometimes I forgot that I had to cook before the sun went down. By the time I noticed, it would be too late to cook. My brother and the sister would cry until they slept. Now, I still need to be looked after by an adult. I want us to look at this new word here, adult. What does the word adult means? So we are going to see that an adult is a grown up. So if you're an adult, it is because you are a grown up somebody, or you are a matured somebody. So Setabile is saying, I still need to be looked after by an adult. It means Setabile feels she is still very young to look after her siblings. And then it says, sometimes I forgot that I had to cook before the sun went down. So Setabile here is saying she would now and again forget to cook before the sun went down. What does before the sun went down means? Now, what you have to know here is before the sun went down. This is a figurative phrase. It is not literal. So the meaning here is hidden. But it means before the sun set. Before the sun set. So that is the meaning of before the sun went down. It's before the sun set. Let's continue reading to see what is happening now in the next paragraphs. Things are better now. A group of women cook supper for all the orphans in the chief's kraal. We go there to get a meal before we sleep. This helps us a lot. We also go to school. The government pays some of our fees and gives us fruit books and exercise books. The head teacher, Mrs. Matatu, is very kind to us. She does not send us home when we do not have things that are needed in school. She understands that we do not have no one at home except ourselves. Now, a group of women cook supper for all the orphans in the chief's kraal. I want us to look at the word orphans. What are orphans? What does the word orphans mean? Now, the meaning of the word orphans is easily found in this story. It means the meaning is literal here. If we can go back to the first paragraph, you are going to see that there is the definition there which says we have no parents. It means therefore, if you are an orphan, or the word orphans means you have no what? You have no parents. So orphans means you have no parents. Good people, it is important that as you read, you also give meanings to the new words so that you understand the whole story. And then, who is the head teacher of Setabile School here? Now, when you read in this paragraph here, you can see that the head teacher here is Mrs. Who? Is Mrs. Matatu. And it is said here that Mrs. Matatu is very kind. Mrs. Matatu is very kind. Now, what does the word kind means? Or else let us just say, let us give a synonym or a word, any word that has the same meaning as kind. Those words, we call them synonyms. So what is the synonym for kind? So we are saying the synonym for kind is loving. If someone is kind, that person also is loving. If a person is kind, that person also is doing what? Is caring. If the person is kind, that person also is generous. So it means, therefore, Mrs. Matatu in this school was a very generous head teacher, was a very loving head teacher, was a very caring head teacher, because she did not expel these children to go back at home when they did not have materials or money to continue paying. Now, let us read the last paragraph of the story. At school, we also get food during the day. We eat together with other children. Some countries usually donate bags of food every school term. I want us to concentrate on this one. Some countries usually donate bags of food every school term. I want us to pick this one up, donate. What does donate means? If someone is donating something to you, what exactly is that person doing? So we are saying donate means to give. It means these countries give bags of food every school term. That is the end of the passage. So we are saying, as you read the passage, make sure you do as I was doing, so that you can understand, or you can have a full understanding or a full meaning of what exactly we were reading about. Now, if you look in front of us here, there is summarization. That is to say, after reading, you have to summarize. But before we can do summarization, may we just quickly go and look at visualizing the story. That is what I want us to do, to show that you understood what you were reading. If you are reading a story, make sure that you also visualize the story. So this diagram here in front of me here is going to help us, because it is containing the elements of a story. So these elements, they are helping us to see if we understood the story. For instance, if you look here in the middle, there is a topic. So topic is what this story was about. So once you have read the story, make sure you make this diagram, okay? So that you can be able to see if you have understood the story. So here in the middle, there's the topic. Here there is the setting in this case includes it has to include the place and the time, and then there's action. The action in this case is let me say it's the plot. The plot is made out of the different events that are happening in the story. So we normally say, when you have read a story, make sure you know what happened in the beginning. Make sure you know what happened in the beginning and what happened in the middle of the story and what happened in the end of the story. So a story is divided into these three parts. So make sure you know what happened in all these different parts. And then obviously when you are reading a story, you have to know that there should be a problem. Okay, there should be a problem. And then this problem is going to be resolved as you are reading, and it is going to give us the results or the outcome. Now, I want us to look at this flow chart here. This flowchart now is giving us the same summary as the one above, but in this one, I want us to do just a brief summary of what we read in the story. For instance, what was the topic of the story? So now you are writing here. What was the topic of the story? We are saying the story. The topic was Setabile's story. Setabile's story. This is the topic, isn't it? And then what was the setting of this story? So you go back to the story. You reread again. The setting is, the place is Vuvulane. The place is Vuvulane area. And then also you go to look at the characters. They are many. The characters here, we have got lots of them. Setabile is one of them. We have got lots of them. Setabile is one of them. My daughter here is another one. My daughter here is another one. The head teacher is another one. So we've got a lot of them. So I want you to go back to the passage, you read them, and then you come and you continue filling all the characters here. Remember, when we are talking about characters, we are talking about the people who are there in the story. Okay, those people are known as characters. And then when we are looking at the action, remember I said the action is the plot. So what happens in this story? So to show that we have understood, give me the action, give me the plot. In this case, we are saying what happens in the story first. We are seeing the parents dying. In fact, they are dead already. And then this is the beginning. In the middle, what are we saying? What are we seeing? We are seeing a lot of things happening here. We are seeing women cooking food for them, for the kids. Women cooking food for the children. And then lastly, the ending, what are we saying here? We are seeing the government of Eswatini, the government of Eswatini, plus the head teacher here helping out these children. The head teacher helping out these children. At least we can see that now the story is divided into three. There is the beginning, whereby we saw Setabile's parents dying of AIDS, and then women cooking food for them, and then lastly we are seeing the government of our country, Eswatini, and the head teacher helping out these three children at school. And then the problem here, we can easily say the problem that we are seeing here is the death of the parents, is the death of the parents. So this is the problem that we are seeing here. And then lastly, the outcome. What is the result? As you read the story, you always want to know what is happening at the end. So we are saying here, the outcome or the result of this story is that we are seeing these children being helped. They are being helped by the government, that is one of them. And also we are seeing them being cared for by the head teacher of their school. So now once you do this, you are going to be showing that you know what you read. You have understood the story that you were reading. But if you have hassles, if you have problems in filling up this information here, that would indicate that you did not understand the story well. Now let us look at how do you summarize also, because this is another way of showing that you did understand the story very well by doing a summary of what you were reading about. So here we are saying Summarizing a story shows that you have understood what you have been reading. So you can never summarize something that you did not understand. But once you are able to summarize, that is an indication that you have understood what you have been reading. Remember, we are saying the gist of reading comprehension is understanding. And then we are saying summaries can be oral. That is, when we say oral, they can be verbal. You can say them by word of mouth, or they can be written. They can be written down. When summarizing, you are supposed to recall factual information or literal. Literal means from the story, not outside the story. So when summarizing, recall factual or literal information from the passage and write it in your own words. I like this one. Write it in your own words. Do not lift the words of the story, but try to paraphrase the story. Write it in your own words. That is very important. And then write what you think is important. When you are summarizing a story, good people, you are not just writing everything that you read from the story, but you are looking at what you think is important. Remember, I said a story is divided into three. There is the beginning, there is the middle, and there is the end. So make sure that in the beginning of the story, you look for the most important information. In the middle, you look for the most important information, and also at the end. Do not take everything word for word of what you have read in the passage. Substitute new words from the passage with synonyms to show your understanding. So make sure you substitute, you replace words from the passage with synonyms, with words with similar meanings to the ones in the passage. For instance, if you can remember, we did use or find the synonym for kind, and we said kind means caring. And then we also talked about donate, and we said donate means to do what? To give. So when I say substitute, I mean replace these ones with these ones. It means therefore now you have substituted these new words which are a bit difficult to understand, and you are using these ones which are far more easier to understand. And then to reinforce your summary or your understanding of a story, you can also represent the story in the following diagram. So this diagram I'm talking about here is the one that we have just talked about. You reinforce here your understanding by doing all these things. You reinforce still here, and then now I want you to do a simple thing here. Just go to your books. Just go to your books and open page 13. And open page 13 and reread the story here. And then after reading the story, try by all means to do all the things I have just talked about here. And then remember that as you read the story, make sure you follow all the methods and the demonstrations I have shown you here, that for you to understand the story. Remember, I said reading comprehension is to help us to understand a story. So make sure you read that story again and again up until you have fully understood the story, good people. Now, this is the end of our lesson today. So I hope you are going to do all you can to understand what we have just talked about. Let me go back to Lerato.
Thank you very much, Mr. Timber. That was a very interesting English language lesson. We're hoping you're going to come again next time.
Yes, I am going to come. Yes. Okay. Yes, I am.
So Form 1s, Form 2s, and Form 4s, stay tuned because Nogwazi will be back to present to you the next 3 subjects. So stay tuned. We'll be back after this infomercial.
This week on Eswatini Lifestyle, we get close and personal with Eswatini's favorite hip-hop artist, Mr. Ilapenpo. Mr. Successful Events himself cooks for us and lets us in his world for this exclusive interview. We meet the boy who had hopes and dreams. We get to understand what it is to be a natural-born hustler.
I fell in love with music.
Okay.
Yeah, music was the first thing that I say I fell in love with. Then fashion as well. My chance
and how his small acts of kindness led to his work as a philanthropist.
Mom, back and like Berlin on that day, the kids and they are walking. So I'm driving up with my boys. I'm like, okay, I can see now the situation. Would I just have money because I got called market?
And we also get to understand that his thick skin is a gift given from God.
That I'm doing right. We're not accepting the fact that they can't laugh because they call their friends, come, just laugh. Now you can't laugh, you have to clap hands.
You don't want to miss this inspiring interview with Ilapenpo and Eswatini Lifestyle. Tune in to Eswatini TV this Friday at 6:30 p.m.
Why should we pay our TV license?
The content on our local television is actually more up to date. The industry is enhanced.
It is a criminal offense not to pay your TV license and attracts a fine of 500 emalangeni or 6 months imprisonment.
And the industry is definitely blooming, ladies and gentlemen, so that's what we have for you, but we'll be right back just after the break and we'll give you more of Miss V.
Pay my TV license. That's why I can enjoy the benefits of an enhanced industry and keep track with recent transformation.
Mommy, who paid for a TV license and what are they paying for?
The owners of TV set and a gadget with a tuner like DVD set have to pay.
Pay your TV license at NetBank with the details provided on screen. Or use your cell phone via the mobile money Pay. You could also visit your nearest post office and pay there. Pay your TV license via Eswatini Mobile Imali. Any TV device retailer can purchase a license to trade. Pay your TV license and enhance the industry.
A very good afternoon and welcome back to Eswatini TV. You are still tuned in to Home Study. My name is Nogwazi Dlamini and right now we are doing Form 1 Mathematics with Jengsile Makakula. Also joining me in the studio is our sign language interpreter, Nomcebo Dlamini. How are you doing today, Jengsile?
I am good, Nogwazi, and how are you?
I'm doing good, thank you very much. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you.
Please project your voice a bit louder so that your students can hear you. We're doing angles today.
Yes, we are doing angles today.
All right. What are you expecting your Form 1 learner to have learned by the end of the lesson?
I expect the learner to be able to answer the question, what is an angle?
Okay.
And to know and identify objects that rotate and identify right angles and kinds of angles.
Okay.
And also be able to name angles.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much for that. Form 1s, join us on Facebook and on YouTube because we are live right now and actually watch your lesson and be able to learn about angles. Jengsile, I'll let you begin your lesson.
Thank you, Nogwazi. Let us just begin our lesson by our objectives. So today we are expecting the learner to be able to define an angle and then identify angles between intersecting lines or planes. And identify objects which rotate, differentiate between clockwise and anti-clockwise. Measure rotations in revolutions and fractions of revolutions. Show an angle as rotation from one line to another about a point or a vertex. Recognize right angles as quarter terms and be able to use the terms horizontal, vertical, and perpendicular. The learner should be able to recognize acute angles, obtuse angles, straight angles, reflex angles with reference to the right angle, and be able to name angles using letters. By now, the learner is expected to know or identify objects that have angles. Say when you look around at home, you can see that the house you are in right now has angles. And then you can be able to identify right angles. And we expect you to know triangles. You might be asking yourself, why angles? Well, we use angles almost in our everyday lives, like, say for instance, when they are drawing plans or maps, or constructing streets or buildings. When you are showing someone directions, you will say at the corner of such and such a street and such a street, that is an angle. And also when you are reading time, you use angles. You say it's 1:15 because there is an angle formed by the hands of the clock. The terms that are going to use are vertical, that's vertical, horizontal, and perpendicular, acute, obtuse, reflex, and intersect. The word intersect, we are going to interchange it with the word meet. So when we say they meet or they intersect, we are going to interchange those terms. Our introduction. Let us just consider these two lines, the lines below. We can observe that the two lines will never meet, since this one will, even if you prolong it, they will just keep on moving to the same direction. And we say these two lines are parallel. These two lines are parallel, hence they will never meet. Now let us look at these two lines. These two lines here, they meet somewhere at a point because they are not parallel. And we say that these two lines, they intersect or they meet at a point. Here is the point where they meet. And at this point, we can identify angles. There is quite a number of angles. Let us just take this one, for instance. This is an angle. It is formed by the two lines that intersect. We will be able to see more about angles as we proceed with our lesson. Now, let us look at these two lines again. We have a line that is red in color and a line that is purple in color. They also meet at a certain point, which we call the vertex. Here is our vertex. That is the point where the two lines intersect or meet. From this example, we can realize that when these two lines meet or intersect, they form an angle. We have an angle here. Maybe we can just look at this from the example below. We have an angle that is inside, as indicated in this diagram, and also we can have an angle that is outside. Since the lines meet here, we can also have an angle that is outside. So we have an inside and an outside angle. We said angles are formed when two lines or two planes intersect. Let us look at two planes now, or surfaces when they meet. So we have two planes. We will refer to the planes that are in red in our diagram, and they meet here. When you look at this here, you can identify an angle where they meet. A perfect example would be the wall of your house. When it meets the floor, there is an angle there which shows that there is a plane, that is the surface, which is the wall, and also the floor. They meet at an angle. Then let us look at rotations. I think you know quite a number of objects that rotate. Say, for instance, we know that the hand of a clock rotates, and it rotates in a certain direction. I think I'm still to see a clock that doesn't move in this direction. There hasn't been one yet. And this direction is called clockwise. We take it from the direction that this watch or the clock has. So we call it clockwise direction. The hands of the clock move in this direction. And we have another direction which we call anti-clockwise, which is just the opposite of this direction. So if something is not moving in that direction of the clock, we say it is moving in an anti-clockwise direction, which is to say that it is not moving on the direction of the clock. So let us just look at the things that we normally use that rotate. Just imagine opening a water tap. When you are opening a water tap, you rotate it. When opening it, you rotate it. And when you are closing it, you also rotate it. And when you are opening the door, you rotate the handle. And then the door itself rotates when you are opening it and you want to enter a house, and you also rotate it back when you are inside, you want to close it. And we say all of these things, they rotate about a center. Maybe we can take a step back and look at our clock. All the hands, that is the minute hand, the hour hand, and the second hand, they rotate about a center. And our center is right here where all the hands are fixed to the clock. So they all rotate about a center. And you can attest that the door handle also rotates about a center. That is where it is attached to the door itself. So now, still on rotations, let us just imagine the minute hand of a clock. It rotates now starting at 12. And it rotates to the number 3 as shown in the diagram. So the minute clock, the minute hand starts at 12 to 3. Maybe before we can get there, let us just look at this hand of a clock when it rotates from 12 up to 12 once again. We call that one revolution, which means it has a complete turn. It returns to the starting point. That is a complete revolution. So now when it rotates from 12 to 3, it forms an angle there. But now, as a fraction of the complete turn or the complete revolution, we can see that it is only 1/4, because at 6, it's half a turn. And when it goes back to 12, it's a complete turn. So at 3, it's half of the turn that it takes to 6. Half of a half that we call a quarter. So it's 1/4 of a revolution. Now, through what fraction of a revolution do you turn in each of the following directions? Say you were facing north. Now you are turning clockwise to west. You are facing the north. And now you are turning clockwise in the direction of the clock to west. Remember your cardinal points. You have your north, east, south, and then the west. So we are saying you are turning clockwise to face the west. So you have 1, 2, 3 of the quarters. That means you have 3/4 of a revolution. That is 3/4 of a revolution. Now, what fraction of a revolution when you turn from south, anti-clockwise to east? So now you are turning from south, anti-clockwise to east. What fraction of a revolution is that? As we can see, it's just 1/4. 4. That means you just turned a quarter of a revolution. Now, let us move to the next point, to the next slide. Before we can get there, let us just imagine now. I want to turn from the north to the south. And Nogwazi seems to have a question.
It's not a question, actually. You look like you do
something.
actually need a break. I think I need one myself. All right, viewers at home, we'll be right back after this.
With the change in technology, out-of-home digital media is designed to grab the attention of people who are always on the go. You can now watch your favorite show, Usile Breakfast Show and Dinzaba at 7 on your favorite YouTube channel.
It's simple. You can stream these shows by following these quick, easy steps. Number 1, open YouTube. Number 2, search for Eswatini TV and click on Eswatini TV. Number 3, after you had entered on Eswatini TV, look for Dinzaba or KPS. And while you're at it, don't forget to like, subscribe and ring the bell button to get notifications of our video uploads and streams. And lastly, enjoy the stream. Stay home and watch Eswatini TV. Stay safe.
Welcome back from that very quick infomercial break. Tengsile, you're still with me. We're doing mathematics Form 1. I think you may continue with your lesson.
Thank you, Nogwazi. Thank you so much. Like I was saying, let's say now you were facing the north and you want to turn towards the south. Towards the south, whether you use clockwise or anti-clockwise direction, you will still reach to the south using a half turn or half of a revolution. So when it's half, whether you take the anti-clockwise or the clockwise direction, the result will be the same. Now let us look at this one. An object is moving from a point A to a point B. So this is our point A to a point B. It covers a certain distance between these 2 points. Now we have the line, say, AB. Let us say now we want to rotate our line AB about the center A. So we hold A and move this line anti-clockwise direction. So it means the B will move to another position. Hence now we will have our A at a corner here, and then we will have an image of the B up there, which we can call another letter, as in this example here. Initially we had a line XY, and then we rotate it through the point Y, and then the X moves to another position, and we named this new position Z. So now our X moved to a new position, and this new position is Z. So now the Y did not move because we used the Y as the center of our rotation. So as we moved, only the X moved. Now we have X, Y, and Z like this, having our Y at the corner, or at what we called earlier on the vertex. Okay, we use an arrow to show the direction of the turn in a rotation. Like in our example here, we have an arrow here to show that we moved from X to the new position, which is Z. So the arrow shows us the direction. I believe now you know this direction from our previous exercise. You know that this is anti-clockwise. Now, there are some cases where the direction doesn't really matter, so we need not have the arrow in our diagram. Say when we are just drawing an angle, We don't have to always have an arrow to indicate direction because it's not like all angles are from rotations. We can have an angle without the direction. Okay, in this we call our point Y, not X. We call Y the vertex of our angle. And the angle has arms. These arms are the two lines that form the angle, which are XY and YZ. So XY and YZ are the arms of this angle. So the angle has two arms and a vertex. The arms are the lines, and then the vertex is the point where the two lines meet. The vertex is the point where the two lines meet. So now we have our angle as X, Y, Z, where Y is the vertex. Nogwazi, seems we have something to say.
I apologize to you and to the viewers as well. May we please take another quick infomercial break. We'll be right back after this.
At this point, you shouldn't feel as if you do not have it. You have it for sure.
Find something you like doing.
Yeah.
Say invest in yourself.
I am your host, Tianza Dlamini, and you're watching Fame Unfiltered. Good night and God bless.
Sega uvuseleleke wakheke emoyeni nemculo wetenkolo bahlabeleli balapha eSwatini. Sikulethele abahlabeleli abaqala nabo lapha sekhula emculweni wetenkolo bahlabela bukhoma lapha eSwatini. Siphinde sixoxisane kabanti ngalaba kwentako emsebentini wabo wekuhlabelela igospel konke kungidinisa simakathe. Ungaphutheka ngomculo wegospel khona lapha eSwatini TV. We praise, to God be the glory.
Sinibusele maswati lamahle kanye nabo bonke bazalwane eveni laseSwatini. Igama lami ngingu-Ayandazwane, Health Promotions Officer walohlelo lolushasha lolubitwa ngekuthi yi-Faith and Community Initiative kafishane FCI.
Njengoba sisho soke sikhuluma ngokusebenzisana nebandla. Bafundisi nisho njalo namabandla anebantu akhiwa abantu lebafikayo lebangela lamaswati lesikhuluma ngawo. And kuyindlela nje kuba niyona leyo platform lenye lekubonakala singayisebenzisa kwabonakala even then singayisebenzisa ukuthi sikhone ukuthi sifike kubo bonke abantu.
Ikakhulu lubuke ukuthi bantu basitakale kwekucala endzabeni ukuthi kwanze umsebenzi wokuvikela igciwane le-HIV la kangwane.
But labantu bebati disclose bona bathi sho bona sibanjani baphathekile bathantazelwe labo banlabo nabativa bangcono bebasithatha hayi ngitiva sengiphilile mina asizange ngisho kanye ndakunika nje good example sibatshela sabayekela amaphilisi.
Namhla ke ngithe ukuthi ukuthatha indvodza into ukuthatha babe ukuthi asade isimo sakhe sengadi kumcoka ukuthi usade isimo sengadi ukuze utokhombisa luthando lonalo emndenini wakho utokhombisa luthando lonalo nasemphakathini.
Welcome back to our viewers. We're going to continue with our Form 1 mathematics lesson with Jengsile Makakula. You may continue with your lesson.
Thank you so much, Nogwazi. Let us just carry on. Like we said earlier on, we have to answer the question, what is an angle? From what we have covered, now we can safely say that an angle is the space between two intersecting lines or surfaces or planes. Another definition, the one that is in our book, is an angle is the amount of turning between two lines around their common point. That point, we call it the vertex. A common point called the vertex. The diagram below gives us a summary of what an angle is. An angle, we said it is the space between the two intersecting lines. And then we said we have what we call a vertex. And an angle has two arms. Here are the arms. Both arms intersect at the vertex to form our angle. And we say the angle can be inside or outside. Now, let us look at what we call right angles. A right angle, like we said before, when the hand of a clock turns from 12 to 3, what we call a quarter turn. A quarter turn, that is 1/4 of a revolution. That angle there, we call it a right angle. We call it a right angle, the angle that is a quarter turn. Say, for instance, in your cardinal points, when you are turning clockwise from north to east, that is another right angle there because it's a quarter turn. And then look at your exercise book right now. The corner of your exercise book is also a right angle. We can view the following diagrams to show what a right angle looks like. We can have it like this here, where we have two lines intersecting. These two lines, in our introduction, we said we are going to deal with vertical, horizontal, and perpendicular. So this diagram here is a perfect example of what vertical is. So we have our vertical line here, the one that is from up to down, and we have our horizontal line here, the one that is from side to side, and they meet at a right angle. So we use a box or a square at the corner to indicate that this is a right angle. We say that these two lines that form a right angle are perpendicular to each other. That means where they meet, it forms a right angle. They are perpendicular to each other. And then we have another example here where we have a vertical line also and a horizontal line, and they meet at 90 degrees or at a right angle, that is a quarter turn. And then we have these two lines here. There is a right angle here, and there is also another right angle at the bottom. In our next diagram, we have a right angle as indicated, and there is also one at the side, and another one here, and another one. So we have 4 right angles here. Since we said it's a quarter and a quarter and a quarter, 4 quarters form a complete revolution. Now, look at the wall of a house, the house you are in, whether the one at school, and the floor. The floor is horizontal and the wall is vertical, and they both meet at a right angle. Since we say the wall is perpendicular to the floor. Now we can draw a horizontal line here and a vertical line to show that they both meet at a right angle. Now let us look at the other kinds of angles, since now we know what a right angle is. There is an angle that is smaller than a right angle. The angle here is smaller than a right angle. So we have our right angle right here, and there is an angle that is smaller than this right angle right here, and we call this an acute angle. An acute angle is an angle that is smaller than our right angle. And then now, a right angle would have been here. And now we have an angle that is larger than a right angle. An angle that is larger than a right angle. It is called an obtuse angle. We call this an obtuse angle. But it is larger than a right angle. It has another boundary. It is smaller than two right angles combined. So this angle here, it is larger than the right angle, but smaller than two right angles combined. So it is called an obtuse angle. So it means it is simply less than or smaller than a straight line. It is just smaller than a straight line, yet it is larger than a right angle. Like we can see in this one now, where we have two right angles combined. We have two right angles combined to form half a revolution, and we call this a straight angle. Going back a bit to our obtuse angle. Our obtuse angle is greater than a right angle, but it is smaller than a straight angle. Since we say a straight angle is half a revolution, what we usually call a straight line. And then we have an angle now that is larger than a straight angle, but it is less than one revolution. So this angle now is larger than a straight angle, but it is smaller than a complete revolution, and it is what we said earlier on is an outside angle, and we call it a reflex angle. It is called a reflex angle. Now let us look at the naming of angles. We have two different ways of naming angles. We can use small letters. When we are using a small letter, we put the letter inside the angle as shown in the diagram. So this angle is called angle A, since we have the letter here, letter A. So when we're naming this angle, we call it letter A. We can also use 3 capital letters. And then now we have this angle. It is slightly different from the naming above, since here we had the small letter inside the angle. But looking at this now, we have our X, Y, and Z. The Y is at the vertex. So now we call this angle X, Y, Z. We have this cap here just on top of the Y to indicate that the Y is at the vertex. So I have the X, Y, the lines X, Y, and YZ are the arms of the triangle of the angle. And now our angle or the vertex is at the point Y. Hence it is called X, Y, Z. But remember, you have to cap the Y. Show it by writing this cap on top to show that the Y is at the vertex. So using 3 capital letters, we say it's angle X, Y, Z with the Y capped to show that it is an angle and it is at the vertex. Now let us look at these examples from your book. That is exercise 5.5. Question number 4 says, here is a triangle. Use 3 capital letters to name the angles marked. So now we are combining the 2 methods. Now we have an angle named A using a small letter. Like we said, the small letter is written inside the angle. So the angle named A, we want to name it using capital letters. And we use 3 of these capital letters. So now we said the letter at the vertex is the one at the middle. So our angle will be RTS with the T as our vertex, since the letter A is at the vertex with letter T. Now we have our angle that is labeled B. B, the angle B. The angle B here, the vertex that we have at B is the vertex S. So we will have R, S, T with the T capped to show that the vertex is, with the S capped to show that we have our vertex at the letter S. And lastly, the angle C. The angle C is at the vertex R. So we will have S, R, T. I think you can see now that something is missing. We have to cap our R to have angle S, R, T. That indicates that our angle or our vertex is at the letter R. So we call it S, R, T using capital letters. This angle here, that is the angle S, T, R. It has two names in this diagram. It has the name STR using 3 capital letters, and it also have another name. It is also called the angle A using the small letter that is found inside the angle. Then now, let us just look at the things that we have covered. In this lesson, we were able to define what an angle is. Like we said, an angle is formed when 2 lines intersect, or when you rotate a line about a point. The space between the 2 lines is called an angle. And then we were able to identify angles between intersecting lines or planes. Like we said, the wall and the floor, they form an angle where they intersect. And we were able to identify objects that rotate. Say, for instance, the hands of your clock. Then we were able to differentiate between clockwise and anti-clockwise. Clockwise being the direction of a clock and anti-clockwise being the opposite direction. And we were able to measure rotations in revolutions and fractions of revolutions. Like we say, there is a quarter turn when I am moving from north to east in a clockwise direction. And then we were able to show the angle as a rotation from one line to another about a point, that point called a vertex. We were able to recognize right angles as quarter turn. And then we used the terms horizontal, vertical, and perpendicular. Horizontal, vertical, and perpendicular. And finally, we were able to recognize angles as acute, obtuse, straight, reflex angles with reference to the right angle. And we were able to use small letters in naming angles and also used capital letters. Thank you so much, dear Lena, and thank you so much, Nogwazi.
Thank you very much, Chengsile, for that amazing lesson on angles. We're hoping to see you again for more mathematics.
Yes, you definitely will.
Thank you very much. Form 4s, get closer to your screens. Up next is biology with me and the Form 4 biology teacher. We'll be right back after this.
Oh, I've been making a lot of mistakes lately. More so to the extent you are likely to call them habits, and yes, precisely. I want to lodge in a complaint. No, file a case. I have incriminating evidence. What? I've been places. So many souls tied to mine, but the fingerprints all over me. Sergeant, I hereby file a case of fingerprints. There are one too many of them on me, on my face, hands, legs, and but these lips, those that have been in gory places have also been here. So Sergeant, Listen, I'd like to file in a case of fingerprints. Write down, left me covered in evidence. I'm the evidence actually. Look at me closely. No, get a microscope. Oh, but these hands have held the worst and the best. These lips have kissed frogs, dead frogs that could never turn into princes. So Sergeant, I'd like to file in a case. Pay attention, I'm turning myself in. I couldn't find the one, so I made two. And the third, I don't know where the fourth came from. The fifth was calm. The sixth came like a raging fire, love burning in his eyes. Oh, but the seventh was calm. So Sergeant, I'd like to file in a case of fingerprints. I'm here to file a case of fingerprints, turning myself in. They're all over me. They've held me tight and close, fondled and cuddled me. Let me lay on their chest and I thanked you. You must have laughed, huh? But I was truly thankful someone was close. As I lay on their chest, I forged brotherly love, uncle love, fatherly love. As they moved in and out, I forged a biological connection. Damn it, I've been searching for a hand. Had the glove, but none fit in. I tried. At heart, I tried. At night, I stayed up. At dawn, I tossed and turned. Head remained in the clouds, whilst my soul got lost in meditation. I forgive you, girl. I accept you. I'm sorry. I'm proud of you. I commit to you. Today, I commit to confess the truth. Sergeant, I confess. Charge me accordingly. Which one is my cell? When is my trial? How long will he give me? I want a life sentence because I live for him. I live for you, all right? I confess I am not worthy. Would you forgive me because these fingerprints, wow. I take 3 showers a day hoping to wash them off. Or why won't they disappear? These fingerprints, Lord, I'm here to file in a case of fingerprints. These fingerprints all over me. Fingerprints.
Welcome back to our viewers and a very good afternoon if you have just joined us. You are still tuned in to Eswatini TV and this is Home Study. Right now we are doing biology for the Form 4s with Mr. Mluleki Simelane. Also joining me in the studio is our sign language interpreter Nombumelelo Hadebe. I am Nogwazi Dlamini, by the way. How are you doing, Mluleki?
I'm very good, Nogwazi, and yourself?
I'm doing good, thank you very much. We're doing characteristics of living things today.
Yes,
in our biology lesson. What are you expecting your Form 4 students to have learned by the end of this lesson?
So our objectives for this lesson is that by the end of this lesson, my learner at home should be able to define biology, to be able to state to list and describe the characteristics of living organisms and to state the different fields that we have in biology.
All right. Okay. Form 4s, get ready for your lesson. Mr. Mluleki, you may begin your lesson, please.
Thank you very much, Nomas. So, good afternoon, my learner at home. So, this is biology as introduced. We are doing today characteristics of living organisms. We know already that all living organisms are shown by certain characteristics that they are living. So today we are going to be looking at some of these characteristics. But before we get to those examinable objectives, we are also going to be looking at the very basis of biology. What is biology and why is it important that we study biology? So we define biology simply as the study of living organisms. We can be able to get that from the two words bio, which basically is taken from the Greek word bios, and this means life. And there's also the logy aspect, which basically means the study of. So we define biology summarily as the study of life, taken from the two words bios and logy. So biology is the study of life. There are various aspects that exist in biology and many fields that one can study. So we will be able to look at some of these fields today. One of these fields is morphology. So basically in morphology, we are studying the form and the structure of living organisms. How are they made out and how are their structures organized in the body? And then there's also another field which is known as physiology. In physiology, basically we study the functions and also the activities of life. And then there's a field which is known as anatomy. In anatomy, we are looking at the functional organization of organisms, how the organism is organized. So we will do a lot of dissecting organisms in anatomy. So that is what we do. We also study the behavior of various organisms. So we also look at the origin. Where do these organisms come from? We also look into the distribution of organisms. In behavior of organisms, we can also look into ecology, which is the study of how an organism interacts with its environment. So in ecology, basically, we want to look how this organism interacts with both the living and the non-living world, known as biotic and abiotic factors. So moving on, let us look into the importance of biology. Why do you think it is important that we study biology? Biology teaches us about the diversity of organisms. Organisms are diverse in their behavior and also diverse in their makeup. So we look at this diversity of living organisms. It also teaches us about processes that occur in living things. As human beings, we undergo various processes. So by studying biology, we are able to understand why these processes take place and how better to deal with some of them. Biology also teaches us about interactions between the living and non-living things. What we've said are the biotic world, which is the living organisms, and also the abiotic world, which is the non-living organisms. It's like the soil and the river systems that exist. So it also connects us to the world around us. Remember, as human beings, we do not live in isolation, but we interact with our world in various ways. It also teaches students to make more informed decisions about their health and also about significant issues such as food production, vaccines, as well as antibiotics. So in order for one to take better care of their body, better care of their families around them, one has to study biology to understand this. Moving on, biology also helps us to be more aware of ecological issues such as sustainable use of natural resources and conservation. As a biology student, you should be able to appreciate your environment as a whole and also be able to take informed decisions. For example, you know the negative effects of disposing plastic bags in ways that are not responsible. So you know that all your actions have got consequences in the ecosystem. And biology is a broad and diverse subject. So there are various career opportunities one can venture into after studying biology. For example, we've got biotechnology, we've got biochemistry, health education, we've got pharmacy, we've got nursing, medicine lecturing, we've got teaching, conservation, as well as soil science. So if you are a lover of nature, you can venture into the last two, conservation and soil science. If you are more of the medicine person, you can be able to look into those. And my learner at home should be aware that this list is not exhaustive. There are many career opportunities that exist in biology. So now moving on to our examinable objectives. So this is a small question that I've prepared for my learner, and by the end of this lesson, you should be able to respond to this. The question reads this: a woman is stung on her leg by a bee and she jumps up. So a woman is stung on her leg by a bee and she jumps up. And the question says, state two characteristics of living things displayed by the woman. So by the end of this lesson, you should be able to respond to such a question. So there are 7 characteristics of living organisms, and these characteristics is what defines life. So we will go through this list. The first one is nutrition. The second one is excretion. Third one, respiration, sensitivity, reproduction, growth, and movement. My learner will appreciate coming from the JC science that we used to say one of the characteristics of living organisms is feeding. So now we discontinue the use of the word feeding, and then we have adopted a new one. So we've gone a level up and we are now using nutrition instead of feeding. and you should be able to appreciate why we do that by the end of today's lesson. So we use a mnemonic device to try to recall these 7 characteristics of living organisms, and this mnemonic device uses the first letters of each word, and we call this mnemonic Mrs. Gran. Mrs. Gran. So the M stands for the movement. So it's movement, and the R can stand for reproduction. The S stands for sensitivity, which is sometimes referred to as irritability. The G stands for the growth. The R, the second R, stands for respiration. The E represents excretion, and the last N represents nutrition. Mrs. Gran. There you have it, my dear learner. So anytime you are asked on these 7 characteristics, just recall Mrs. Gran and you are set to go. So now let us look into each of these 7 characteristics. What are they and what do they represent? So when we talk about nutrition, we define nutrition as obtaining the organic substances and mineral ions from which organisms gain their energy and the raw materials for growth and tissue repair. Obtaining the organic substances and mineral ions from which organisms gain their energy and the raw materials for growth and tissue repair. So the organic substances that living organisms should obtain include, amongst others, nutrients like proteins. Other nutrients include carbohydrates. Other nutrients include fats or oils, fats and oils, and there are also fiber, sometimes referred to as roughage. So these are the organic substances. Mineral ions also vary. Some mineral ions include iron. They include iodine, and there is a lot of others. There are also certain vitamins that are required by the body for survival. Vitamin A, vitamin B, vitamin C. There is also vitamin E, vitamin K. So there are a lot of these. So this is what the body or the living organisms need in order to gain their energy and also to get the raw materials for growth and tissue repair. So as one grows, there are a lot of tissues that grow old and they have to be restored or replenished. So you need these organic substances to do that. So nutrition can be categorized into 2. First, plants make their own food from simple substances using light energy. And we call this autotrophic nutrition. So they do this with the help of chlorophyll. And my dear learner will recall at home that we refer to this as photosynthesis. Photosynthesis, in which a green plant makes its own food in the presence of light energy using the chlorophyll in its leaves. And you'll know that one of these products in photosynthesis is glucose and oxygen. And we say it takes place in the presence of light energy and chlorophyll. It takes place in the presence of light energy and also chlorophyll. So we call that autotrophic nutrition. So moving on, there is also another type of nutrition wherein animals who do not make their own food but they rather use ready-made food substances. And we refer to this as heterotrophic nutrition. So this is heterotrophic nutrition. So you'll know that animals can only acquire nutrients through feeding on organic matter. It could be plants or other animals. And we say this is heterotrophic nutrition. So I hope you have observed that we've got two types of nutrition, autotrophic and heterotrophic nutrition. However, as we move on, my dear learner, you'll also see that there is one type which maybe falls under the heterotrophic nutrition, but it is more specific in that we now refer to it as saprotrophic nutrition. So we'll look into that in detail as we continue with our biology syllabus. So now another characteristic of living organisms is excretion. So we define excretion as the removal of toxic materials and the waste products of metabolism from organisms. The removal of toxic materials and the waste products of metabolism from organisms. So there are various processes that take place in a human being or other living organisms, and they end up producing these toxic materials and these waste products. And these toxic materials and waste products have to be removed from the body. And the process by which they are removed is through excretion. So excretory products may come from every cell in the body or from certain parts of the body only, in which we'll look into. So excretory products in plants include, amongst others, water, carbon dioxide during respiration, and also oxygen during the process of photosynthesis. So excretory products in animals, on the other hand, include water, they include carbon dioxide, mineral salts, and nitrogenous compounds such as urea, uric acid, and as well as ammonium compounds. So we will look into the different excretory organs that are available in the human body. So these are some of the excretory products that are available in the human body. For example, there is the kidney. There is the kidney, and the kidney is responsible for removing, amongst others, water, excess water, for removing excess salts, and also for removing urea from the body. And another excretory organ are the lungs. And the lungs are responsible for removing carbon dioxide. So we exhale carbon dioxide as an excretory product into the atmosphere. We also have the skin. The skin is also another excretory product, and we remove sweat, which consists of excess salts as well as water from the body. And we also have the liver. The liver is responsible for removing a number of toxins, of toxic substances, and also the liver is responsible for removing certain chemical substances one may have taken in when eating. Certain chemicals. The liver is also responsible for deaminating of amino acids, deamination, which removes certain substances like amino acids which are deaminated to produce urea. So moving on, another characteristic of living organisms is respiration. So respiration is simply defined as the release of energy from food substances in all living cells. So the key word being all living cells. All living cells. So all cells do respire. All living cells will respire. And remember that the release of energy, we do not say energy is made or produced, but rather we say it is released. This comes from the basis of your JC science, the law of conservation of energy, wherein we say energy can neither be created or destroyed, but rather it can be converted from one form to another. So the correct word is release of energy. So do not make the mistake of saying the production of energy, but rather it is the release of energy from food substances in all living cells. The food substances are broken down. It could be in the presence or absence of oxygen. So we will look into both the scenarios, in the presence of oxygen or in the absence of oxygen. So the food substances can be broken down in the presence of oxygen in a process known as aerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration. So respiration can take place in the presence of oxygen, and we call this aerobic respiration. Respiration can also take place in the absence of oxygen, and we call this anaerobic respiration. So it can take place in the absence, and it is called anaerobic respiration. And you'll also note that there is a specific cell organelle in the body that is responsible for respiration, and it is called the mitochondria, which is found inside cells. It's called the mitochondria. So, as we've said, there's both aerobic and there's anaerobic respiration. Aerobic is in the presence of oxygen, and anaerobic is in the absence of oxygen. We move on now. So this is what we call a mitochondria. This is the cell organelle called a mitochondrion. In singular, it's mitochondrion. So that is the cell organelle. So another characteristic of living organisms is sensitivity, which, as I've said before, we can also refer to it as irritability. So both words can be interchanged, irritability. So we define sensitivity as the ability to sense and respond to changes in the surroundings. The ability to sense and respond to changes in the surroundings. For example, on a very hot day, you'll hear people complaining that today it's very hot. So they've already started to sense the change in the surroundings. That's the first one. And then the body will effect certain changes to try to respond to this stimuli, in this case, which is the heat. So such changes can include, amongst others, sweating. So the body can sweat to show that there is a response to the stimuli. So that is an example of one showing sensitivity. Another example of sensitivity could be light in plants. We know that plants need light energy. Green plants need light energy for photosynthesis. So if you provide the light from one direction, what happens is that the plant shoot will bend towards the light. It will bend towards the light. And this is an example of sensitivity. So plants will generally react more slowly to the stimuli, to the external stimuli such as light, gravity, as well as heat, whereas animals react quickly. For example, my dear learner at home, you see a snake approaching you, or you just come across a snake when you walk. So you'll not need one to invite you to run away, but you'll just do that on your own to show that you have sensed and you have also responded to the change, and you respond to it more quickly than other organisms like plants. So I hope sensitivity is much clearer. And then another one is reproduction. We know already that organisms cannot live for the whole of the time, so they end up dying. So they have to reproduce in order to prevent that organism from becoming extinct. So we define reproduction as producing offspring, preventing the extinction of the species. Producing offspring, preventing the extinction of the species. So can you imagine if there were 8 billion people in the world, and there won't be any increase in the number, there's no reproduction. At the end, what will happen is that we human beings as organisms will now become extinct. So basically, extinction means that we have ceased to exist. So it is important that we are reproduced so that we do not become extinct. So reproduction allows species to continue existing for a long time. So again, there are two forms of reproduction. We have got asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. In asexual reproduction, only one individual is required for it to take place. Only one individual organism is required for it to take place. And this reproduction is a very fast type of reproduction. Examples of organisms that reproduce in this way include amongst others bacteria. It also includes fungi. Also includes plants such as sugarcane, as well as sweet potato, or even just the potato. So these are examples of asexual reproduction. Whereas in sexual reproduction, both the individuals, males and females, are involved. So this type of reproduction requires two parents to produce an offspring. So I hope that's clear. So moving on, we also have growth as a characteristic of living organisms. And we simply define growth as an increase in size, in mass, and also in complexity of the organism. An increase in size, in mass, and in complexity of the organism. For example, let us look at an example of a baby. So a baby grows, and to show that the baby has grown, their mass will increase. Say for the first time they weighed 2.5 kg, but as you grow, maybe you can end up weighing about 50 kilograms. So this shows an increase in mass. Size also increases. And when we talk about complexity, we say now the baby has developed, as it has grown, it has developed other features that they did not possess when they were young. For example, as a baby grows, they now, if it's a baby boy, they can have more muscles. They can also develop facial hair as they grow. So that is an increase in the complexity of an organism. So in plants, it only occurs at the extremities of the body. So it could be at the end of the roots and also at the end of the shoots. That is where growth takes place. So this is known as apical growth. Whereas in animals, it occurs on any part of the body. So an animal can grow on any part, and it is known as intercalary growth. So another characteristic of movement of living organisms is movement. So when we talk about movement, we refer to a change in position of the whole body or any part of the organism. So it could be the movement in terms of a change in position of the whole body or any part of the organisms. So a movement is more clearer in animals, since they can be able to move easily from one place to another in search of food, running away from danger. They can also move in search of mating partners. So those are examples of movements. However, movement in plants is not easily seen because their roots are fixed to the soil. Their roots are fixed. So a plant's movement could be in response to stimuli. Say you have put it inside a box and it is exposed to unidirectional light. So after some time, you'll be able to see the plant start bending towards the light in its growth. So this is an example of movement in plants. So it is only a change in a part of the organism. So now, my dear learner, we have talked about the definition for biology, and we said in order for us to define biology, we must look into these two terms, where the bio, taken from the Greek word bios, and it means life. And the logy basically means study of, or just study. So biology is defined as the study of life. As the study of life. So we've also discussed the importance of us learning biology. We said it teaches us about processes that take place in our bodies, enables us to better understand the world around us, and can also lead us to many important and interesting careers in biology. We have also discussed the 7 characteristics of living organisms, and we said we use the mnemonic Mrs. Gren. I hope my learner remembers at home. Mrs. Gren. So you never forget that. Mrs. Gren, and we say the M represents movement, the R represents either respiration, the S represents sensitivity, the G represents growth, the second R, reproduction, the E, excretion, and the N, nutrition. No worries.
Thank you very much, Mluleki, for that, and I hope our Form 4s will be able to remember that mnemonic device, Mrs. Gren.
Yes, indeed. I definitely hope so, no worries.
Yes. All right, thank you very much. We're hoping to see you again soon.
Thank you. I hope so too.
All right, Form 4s, do not move an inch from your screens. Up next is your last lesson, actually, second and last lesson for the day, which is physics. We'll be right back after this.
This week on Eswatini Lifestyle, we get close and personal with Eswatini's favorite hip-hop artist, Mr. Ila Penpo. Mr. Successful Events himself cooks for us and lets us in his world for this exclusive interview. We meet the boy who had hopes and dreams. We get to understand what it is to be a natural-born hustler.
Ila ukhulele kaHlatsi. Nakakhulula kaHlatsi, I fell in love with music.
Okay.
Yeah, music was the first thing I fell in love with. Then fashion as well.
And how his small acts of kindness led to his work as a philanthropist.
Mom, back and like Belina that day, the kids and they are walking. So I'm driving up with my boys. I'm like, okay, I can see now the situation. Would I just have imagine because
and we also get to understand that his thick skin is a gift given from God.
That I'm doing right. Why not accepting the fact that they can't laugh because they call their friends, come, let's laugh. Now you can't laugh, you have to clap hands.
You don't want to miss this inspiring interview with Ila Penboy and Eswatini Lifestyle. Tune in to Eswatini TV this Friday at 6:30 p.m.
With the change in technology, out-of-home digital media is designed to grab the attention of people who are always on the go. You can now watch your favorite show, Usile Breakfast Show, and Dinzaba at 7 on your favorite YouTube channel.
It's simple. You can stream these shows by following these quick, easy steps. Number 1, open YouTube. Number 2, search for Eswatini TV and click on Eswatini TV. Number 3, after you had entered on Eswatini TV, look for Dinzaba or KPS. And while you're at it, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell button to get notifications of our video uploads and streams. And lastly, enjoy the stream. Stay home and watch Eswatini TV. Stay safe.
Welcome back to our viewers and a very good afternoon. Sorry if you have just joined us. This is Eswatini TV and you are still tuned in to Home Study. My name is Nogwazi Dlamini and right now we are doing the last subject for the day, which is Form 4 Physics with Mr. Peter Ongeri. Did I say it right?
Yes, Nokwazi.
All right, I said it right. How are you doing this afternoon?
I'm good, Nokwazi, and you?
I'm doing very, very, very well. Could you please project your voice a bit louder so that your students at home would be able to hear you?
That's right.
All right, thank you very much. Today we're doing speed, velocity, and acceleration during physics, right?
Yes.
Okay, what are you expecting your learner to have learned by the end of the lesson?
By the end of this lesson, I could expect the learner at home to have known how to define speed, acceleration, and velocity.
Okay.
And use them and calculate the various speeds, velocity, and accelerations.
Okay, I'd be right if I said they'll be needing their calculators during this lesson.
Exactly.
All right, okay. Form 4s, please be ready with your calculators. It's time for your physics lesson with Mr. Ongeri. I think you may begin with your lesson, sir.
Dear learners at home, welcome to our physics lesson of the day. Physics, that is speed, velocity, and acceleration. At the end of this lesson, you should be able to define speed, velocity, calculate speed, velocity, distance, and time. You need to be able to use it. You should be able to identify speed as a scalar and velocity as a vector quantity. You should be able to define acceleration and calculate the acceleration. So, why do we have to study speed? In life, we have come across so many situations whereby we need to know the speed. On the highways, you have seen speed limits where the traffic police arrest people because of overspeeding. Sometimes we need to go to work early. We know the distance or the place where our workstations are, but we wake up late. Why do we wake up late and get late at work? This is because we are going to be delayed by the speed we will use from the house to our workplaces. So, in order to avoid all these mistakes in life, we need to know more about speed. Before we go into speed, there are terminologies we are going to use today. One of them is scalar, there is vector, there is displacement, deceleration, retardation, and the rate of change. These are some of the new terminologies we are going to encounter as we go on with our lesson, dear learner at home. So, from the picture there on your screen, you can be able to see I have got 4 animals. There is a snail, a tortoise, a rabbit, and a cheetah. If you look at the picture carefully, you are able to see that the snail, as we move across, is the slowest. Then the tortoise, then the rabbit, then the cheetah. Why should I say that the cheetah is the fastest? Because if they were given the same distance to cover, the cheetah could take the least time. Then the snail could take the longest time. So that brings us direct to our definitions of speed. Speed, we understand in very simple terms, is how fast an object travels. Speed is defined as the distance traveled per unit time. To calculate speed, we use the formula speed is equals to distance with the capital D there over time t, a small t there. The SI unit of measuring speed is meters per second, written as ms or ms raised to the power of -1. However, you realize that not all cases we calculate speed using meters per second. Sometimes we use kilometers per hour. We may use miles per hour. We may use centimeters per hour. So, it is very important to know how to convert these units. For example, in our case, we have the standard unit of measuring speed, which is 1 meters per second. 1 meter per second, if I want to change this into kilometers per hour, I need to know how many meters make 1 kilometer. 1,000 meters make 1 kilometer. How many seconds are there in 1 hour? There are 3,600 seconds. So, you divide 1 divided by 1,000. 1 second divided by 3,600 seconds. There you get, if you use your calculators at home, you'll find that you'll get 0.001 over 1 over 3,600. And the answer will be 3.6 kilometers per hour. This is a very important conversion of which you should master it, as you will need it to calculate now and again as we go forward. So, let us go into the calculations of speed. Speed, we have said, is distance over time. But not always will you be given all these quantities. Somebody can give you the speed, then denies you the distance, then he expects you to find the time. Somebody may give you time and speed, he expects you to find distance. How do you go by it? There is this triangle here. This triangle can assist you. If you are calculating speed, you know it is distance all over time. If you want to calculate time, then you come and you just rub the time there. What remains is d over s. So time will be given by distance over speed. What if I want to calculate the distance? If you want to calculate the distance, again you cover it up there. It remains, it is speed times time. You should know that down here it is a cross, then over is a division. So this triangle will assist you to maneuver the various types of formulas. Let us go straight forward to our example number 1. A runner runs 400 meters in 65 seconds. Calculate his speed. Speed, as I have said, is distance over time. The distance here we have been given is 400 meters. The time here we have been given is 65 seconds. So what is remaining is what? Speed. So we don't know the speed. The formula of speed I've said is distance over time. Checking distance 400 meters. Checking time 65 seconds. Divide that using your calculator. You'll find 6.15 meters per second. Let us look at another example. Example 2 there. A car travels from Malkans to Manzini, a distance of 12 kilometers, at a speed of 60 kilometers per hour. Calculate how long the car takes to arrive in Manzini. You realize here we have been given the distance. Check. We have been given the speed. Check. What is remaining? It is the time. You remember our triangle as I put it early? You know that speed is there, distance is on top, time is on my left. Then this cross is a multiplication, then this is a division. Meaning, if I'm calculating time, then I will have to come and rub the time. It is going to be distance over time. The distance given there is 12 kilometers. The speed given there is 60 kilometers per hour. Therefore, if you use your calculator again, you will find that you will get 0.2 hours. It is good to convert that into minutes. You know 1 hour contains 60 minutes, so that will be an equivalent of 12 minutes. As we move forward, dear learner at home, now we're going to look at what is velocity. Speed and velocity are at times often used interchangeably. Although they mean very similar things, they are not really the same. Speed, as we have said earlier, is an example of a scalar quantity. A scalar quantity. This is a new term I'm trying to use here. What do you understand by the term scalar? A scalar quantity is a quantity that has got only magnitude. Magnitude is size. When we talk of magnitude, we are talking of size. When we talk of speed as a scalar, we mean that it has got only magnitude. So, when we look at the car down there, this car is traveling at a speed of 25 meters per second. If somebody tells you the car is traveling at a speed of 25 meters per second, that means that is a scalar. It is only speed. It's not trying to tell you where the car is going. There is no direction there. So, what is this velocity? How is this velocity different from speed? We realize that velocity is the distance covered per unit time in a specified direction. This is a very, very important word, specified direction. That is what normally differentiates speed and velocity. So we are saying that velocity is as similar as speed, but now it is in a specific direction. So the definition of velocity can therefore be said to be speed in a specified direction. If we have direction and we have magnitude, then we come up with what we call a vector quantity. Velocity is therefore a vector quantity. Why? It has got both speed and it has got both size and direction. The size is the magnitude, while the direction there is where the car is moving to. If you look at the diagram below there, the car is moving towards the north, that is the direction. And the speed has been said to be 25 meters per second. So this is velocity and that is a vector quantity. Somebody may give you some examples on where you are supposed to differentiate. You can say which one of the following is a vector quantity and which one of the following is a scalar quantity. Somebody may say Alice was moving to Manzini at a speed of 25 kilometers per hour. That is velocity. You have been given the direction where Alice is going. Or I may say the car is moving at 10 kilometers per hour. That is speed. There is no direction. I don't know where the car is going. So that is a scalar quantity. So how do we calculate this velocity? To calculate velocity, we use the same formula as that of speed. The formulas are the same, but in this case, you realize that the distance traveled is not going to be referred as distance. We refer to it as displacement. We refer to it as displacement. What is this displacement? Displacement is just the same as distance, but now in a specified direction. Displacement is the same as distance in a specified direction. If I am moving 10 steps to the north, that is displacement. If I am moving 10 steps backwards, that is a displacement, because I'm having both the magnitude, the size of my distance, and I'm also having what? And I'm also having the direction. So, how do we calculate velocity? Velocity can be calculated using the formula displacement over time. Displacement, as I have said before there, is distance traveled in a specific direction. So this velocity, we can say it is a vector quantity. That is what differentiates it most with the speed. Let us look at an example on how to calculate velocity. A car has a velocity of 72 kilometers per hour. How far does it go in half a minute? You remember when I was talking about speed, we used this triangle. The same triangle, we are going to use it in velocity. But instead of speed, now I have my v, which stands for velocity. Instead of my distance, here I have my d, which will stand for displacement. And then on this side, I will have my t, which is the time. Therefore, we have been given the velocity. We have been given the time. What have we not been given here? We have been given the velocity. We have been given the time. So, what am I supposed to look at? It is the displacement, is the one which is missing. So, displacement, you go and rub it there. What remains is v times t. So, d is going to be v times t. Change the velocity, therefore, is going to be what? Distance covered there, the displacement over the time. The displacement, if you change this formula, comes to d is equals to v times t. If you multiply 72 kilometers times the time taken there, which is half a minute, you are going to get 600 meters as a distance. But before that, you remember we talked about conversion unit. 3.6 kilometers per hour is equivalent to 1 meter per second. In this case, I've multiplied both sides by 10. Therefore, you always have to remember 36 kilometers per hour is equals to 10 meters per second. If you convert 72 kilometers per hour to meters per second, you will get 20 meters per second. Then taking the 20 meters multiplying by half a minute is an equivalent of 30 seconds. Then you will get 600 meters. So, now we move forward. We want to look at what we call acceleration. Acceleration is defined as the rate of change of velocity. In other words, when the speed and or direction. What do you understand by this? And or direction of a moving object. We have said acceleration is the rate of change of velocity. Yet we know velocity is the speed in a specific direction. So, if the speed is changing, then the object is accelerating. If the direction is changing, then the object is accelerating. Why do we insist on this? Somebody may ask you, a car that is negotiating a corner at a constant speed, is it accelerating or not? The car will be said to be accelerating because if it is negotiating a corner, if it was moving towards the north, as it negotiates around the corner, the direction is doing what? Changing, meaning it is accelerating. So it is either change in speed or change in direction of a moving object or both. Therefore, the formula for calculating acceleration is the change in velocity over the time taken to effect that change. We can abbreviate it using A is equals to change in V over T. This sign here, delta, is used to signify change of velocity over the time. Therefore, acceleration is equals to change in velocity. How do we get change in velocity? We need to know the V is the final velocity. This is the velocity at which the car is stopping. Then there is U, which stands for the initial velocity, the velocity at which the car started moving. Then we can substitute whichever values we have into the formula, as we see in the next example. A car moves from west towards the north. After 20 seconds, its velocity is 35 meters per second. What is its acceleration? You look at the diagram there. This is the car moving. This car is moving towards a specified direction, meaning this car is having a velocity. But when it was at rest, at this point, the car has no speed. The speed there is 0. After this time span of 20 seconds, the car reaches a velocity of 35 meters per second. So, how do I calculate my acceleration? The formula is acceleration is equals to final velocity V minus initial velocity U over T, which is the time. The final velocity is 35 when it stopped. Initial velocity is when it started. It was at 0. Time taken for that is 20 seconds. Therefore, acceleration will be 35, which is the final velocity, minus 0, which is the initial velocity, over 20, which is the time it took. If you calculate that, you find that it is 35 over 20, which gives us 1.75 meters per second squared. It is very, very important to know the units of acceleration. The units of acceleration is meters per second squared. Let us look at another example, but in a different direction. Not always we have what we call a positive acceleration. Acceleration occurs when something slows down. If I'm moving at 60 kilometers per hour, then I see a slow pump or the police ahead, then I need to slow down as I go towards them to stop. So as I am moving towards them, my speed is changing. That one is, I'm accelerating, but the acceleration now is negative. That is what we refer to as deceleration or retardation. we say the vehicle is decelerating or retarding. However, in physics, we don't use these two terminologies. We say it has got a negative acceleration.